Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to welcome you to the Less is More Coaching Podcast Videocast. We are here today. We are going to be jumping into a conversation about the support of and awarding employees and how to keep employees happy. And I just want to invite those of you that are down in the audience, you are welcome to come up on stage and join in the conversation. And good afternoon, Wade. How are you, sir?
Doing better than good. How about yourself, Coach?
Well, apart from that interesting experience with Marshall, it was a very interesting experience. I think he might have been a little surprised when he came into the room and he was given a green moderator badge and I wasn't here. And that's okay. It's all good. I was having difficulty getting in, and those are the things that happen sometimes. So, but he wanted to make sure he got an invitation, so he got an invitation. And the cool thing about the invitation is if you are here before the speaker, you end up on stage with the little green bean. So welcome. This is also going live on social media, and I want to thank everybody for being here. Those of you that are on social media watching this. And I'm super excited. One of the things that we were talking about yesterday, and it kind of got into a little bit of a debate between Marshall Willis and Marquis Wilkes, and it looks like they're not going to be here today, but that's all right. One of the things that we were looking at is ways to reward employees and some of the things that you can do to give thanks to employees. Because in today's society, one of the things that we're discovering, thanks to the pandemic, it has made finding good employees a lot tougher, especially since there are a lot of people that were literally paid to stay at home. So the workforce is still kind of shattering and moving and resetting itself. And I think as people are running out of their government money from the past year, they're looking to get back into the workforce. And some of the ways to get back into the workforce are ways to reward them so that they love coming back and that they want to work. And I think so many times there are people that, entrepreneurs and people that own companies that don't appreciate the hard work that the employees put in. And inside of that lack of appreciation, their experience has been in the past that they can just, I can just go get, you don't like your job, I'll just go get a couple of new people. Well, now they're finding those same owners are changing their tune and they're coming back saying, maybe if I clean up the work environment, maybe if I provide some good benefits, maybe if I pay attention to some of the employee recognition, saying thank you. I mean, the other day I was talking to somebody, and their biggest complaint was that the owners who would walk through the office many, many times would never acknowledge anybody. They would just pretend like, I don't know, sometimes I watch people ignore janitors and ignore maintenance crews, even when they look at you. And my experience with that is, why would you do that? Why not acknowledge who they are? Say thank you for doing what they're doing and appreciate them. And even at Christmas time or at a vacation time, perhaps give them a bonus and say thank you. That's one of the things that I see. And I was sharing yesterday that I found this book. And it's a book on 1,001 ways to reward your employees. And in the beginning of the book, in the introduction, there were three things that they point out are, regardless of the cost, scope, or complexity of effective rewards and recognition, the guidelines are simple. 1, match the reward to the person. Start with the individual's personal preferences and reward the person in ways he or she will truly find rewarding. Such rewards may be personal or official, informal or formal, public or private, may take the shape of gifts or activities, and really to take the guesswork out of the effective recognition. Ask the employees what they most value, perhaps even giving them an index card to list forms of recognition they like so that it's there in their records. The second is matching the reward to the achievement, making sure that they match. Effective reinforcement should be customized to take into account the significance of the achievement. Obviously, an employee who completes a 2-year project should be rewarded in a more substantial one than one who simply does a favor for you in 1 day. And of course, the reward should be a function of the amount of time you have to plan and execute and the money you have to spend. And perhaps the money that generated in a way that you could say thank you in giving them a bonus. Be timely and specific. You know, we always say as coaches and trainers that creating smart objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, the star of 5 goals are making sure that they meet their timely for the year, for the quarter, for whatever it is. And those that come weeks or months later do little to motivate employees to repeat their actions. You should always say why the reward is being given. That is, provide a context for the achievement. And once you've consistently rewarded desired performance, your pattern of recognition may come more intermittent as the desired behavior becomes habitual. In fact, research shows that intermittent reinforcement becomes more effective in sustaining performance in the long run. So that's what this book thinks, and I would love to just, since you're here, Wade, hear what you have to say about performance bonuses, rewarding employees in your experience, and then we'll move on. So go right ahead.
Well, thanks, Coach Les. I really value the time we get to speak together and sharing our learning experiences. I call it learning out loud. And one of the things that, although I think it should go without saying, I'm going to add. So as we try to tailor and customize the rewards to the employee, that means we have to know a little more about the employee. And as you had said, I look at it like we have to know what their dreams are. We have to know if they have any hobbies. I'm not talking a deep personal relationship, but enough of a relationship that we unfortunately don't treat them like that janitor. Because that's easy to do. And it was rather odd, but I learned it from watching a movie. It was called, the movie was called Silencing of the Lamb. And they talked about why they don't use people's names. Because when you don't use people's names, you treat them more like things. And that drew me to why a person's name is important. Now, getting to how we reward them. So if we don't know enough about them, how will we know if a home dinner is what they would be interested that's maybe like a DoorDash thing or something like that? If we don't know they have a spouse, we wouldn't know how many to even order dinner for, what they like. We wouldn't know if we had the ability to reward them with a vacation where they'd want to go. And I think this idea of the reward gives us an opportunity to just learn more about them, to get them to open up without the fear that, because oftentimes, ain't that what we often think? Why do they want to know this? The timeliness. As you spoke as a coach, right? If we're not timely, they're going to even forget. Because if it's too far away from the achievement or the thing they did, giving somebody a reward for sales 6 months after they've met a goal is probably not going to feel too connected. So we have to be careful with the opportunities. It just, and I think about these things, and I'm just so glad. Like today, although I wasn't an employee, I was on a learning about doing podcasts, and she simply recognized me because I had the courage to be the first one to shoot my hand up to learn about positioning myself for my own podcast. And all she did was ring a little bell and say, "Oh, I want to congratulate Wade," and in front of the rest of the audience and things. That meant a lot to me. And I think sometimes it can be those simple little things. Just, I noticed this. I really appreciate that, as well as the larger. I believe you need the simpler, everyday things. This always goes back to what Zig Ziglar said. When I was in Dallas, they did "I Like You Because" cards. And everybody that was in our class or in our group, we would write something we liked about them. In mine, we had probably only known each other for a few hours, in the expectation of us that we had to find things that we liked about the other person. So I'm going to turn the mic back over to you, Coach Les.
Awesome, Wade. Thank you. And thanks for really expounding on it in a significant manner. I appreciate that. I've been coaching now for close to 20 years. And as I work with clients, one of the things that I have always prided myself on is being able to speak to anybody in the company, speak to anybody in the hallway, speak to anybody on the street. And even the people, when I used to be in the bar business and looking at going into some of the areas of Minneapolis where I live that weren't the most safe, one of the things that I always looked at was, how do I reward my customers? Not only just the employees at the company that I worked at. For me, it was also looking at clients. How do you get to say thank you to clients, what are some of the ways to say thank you, are just as important, right? So it works both ways. It works with the client support, the sales support, the staffing support. And I know that there were times when the gifts that I gave were definitely not less necessarily facilitated by asking the people that I was delivering them to. And, I invite owners when they're looking at this, and managers when they're looking at this. I like what the book said, where it said, check in, find out, go ask the question. Put a little index card and fill out an index card with what each of the employees might like to have. Remember it for their birthday. Remember it for a special event. And I think that is an art that has been sorely neglected and looked over. So once again, thanks, Wade. And let me just do a quick refresh here for those people that just popped in. Looking at how do you reward your employees? What is one of the ways in which you can reward your employees? Do you agree with rewarding your employees? And what does that look like to reward your employees? And we just read a note about match the reward to the person, match the reward to the achievement, be timely and specific. And that came out of this book, 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees. So with that being said, I'd love to pass the mic over to you, Kevco. Great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I work in HR.
Oh, wow.
And we talk about this a lot. And I think what's interesting, I think, is it's always important, I think, to always kind of think out of the box sometimes, because I've seen a lot of my employees just in various jobs have not necessarily appreciated material things so much as being recognized and honored and valued for their talent. Because I think in a lot of organizations, there's kind of a hierarchy. You have the CEO at the top, and then you have, admin, and then you have middle management and all that. And I've seen the greatest effect on people in a positive way when you've taken somebody maybe on the lower rung and you've brought them up at the annual luncheon, and not so much given them an award like a statue, but publicly praised them in front of the entire organization, or featured them in the newsletter, for instance. So those are just some of the things that I've noticed over the years.
Beautiful. No, I really like that. I think that I can't remember. Oh, somebody brought this up. I was in a meeting the other day. This was like a week and a half ago. Somebody brought up that their employees enjoyed getting, like, just to reiterate what you said, Kevgo, is that they appreciated getting honored and spoken about more than getting a gift card. And I went, what? And because I was a little bit shocked, and come to find out that yes, a lot of times if somebody is not used to getting that verbal praise in a place where how do I say this? You're not in a place where there's not a lot of communication, and it may be a very, very high
it seems like you got moved to the audience. I'm looking at the Clubhouse app. We can't hear you. I invited you to speak. Okay, you're back now, but your mic is muted, Coach.
Yeah, and you want to, Wade, do you know how to put the little green bean on me?
No, I do not.
Okay, so put your finger on my just press my face. There you go. You got it.
I got you. Yep, I got you now. All righty, we're back. We're back on track again.
I have no idea how that happened. Oh well. Maybe Kevco did it by accident. Anyway, so what did you hear me say? Anything?
Not very much. Not very much.
Okay. That's what I get for looking at my camera instead of my phone. So one of the things I was saying is that I appreciated what Kevco said about looking at recognition and talent. And one of the things I think inside of, and by the way, that all of that will be on the video, so we'll be able to see it because it's going through the live stream. Is that the actual ability to, in an area where there's a lot of high stress and there's a lot of action, there's a lot of maybe even machine work, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the company, to be able to bring them into an auditorium, bring them into a cafeteria and speak to them and share with them and offer them that acknowledgement, that recognition, and and saying that they're great, letting them know how much they're appreciated, was much more valuable than giving them a gift certificate. And I can see that in today's society, because in today's society, we have a lot of parents that are very busy. We have a lot of companies that are very busy, people that are busy. They're at home. They're not working in a group environment. So to be able to get that recognition in front of a group of people is so valuable, and it lifts people up and really, I think, causes them to be excited about, oh, maybe this month I could be the employee of the month, or maybe this week I could win that gift card. This month I could do it, or I could do it for the year. I mean, I remember when I worked for Phillips Wine and Spirits, the #1 sales rep received a watch with Phillips written on it as an annual gift, and they gave one to each department and each sales department. And I won a watch one year, and I still have it. It was a $500 watch. Now, I would never have bought that watch, but to get that and have the logo on there and know that that was part of what I got it for was, very heartwarming. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is also one of the things is putting together what I would call annual trips. So I just recently was talking with a client of mine who works for a staffing agency, and he and 20 of their teammates went to Jamaica for a week as an acknowledgement and as a prize for them hitting their numbers, for the company hitting its numbers for last year. And I look at that, and I mean, I can't even imagine what the expense was. It was an all-exclusive resort. Let's say it's 25 people. It's at least $1,000 a person. So there's 25 grand. And I think the play that it got when I was talking to not only the person that I coach, who's one of the co-owners, but because he loved it. When I was talking to one of the employees, they were like, "This is something I'm never ever going to forget." And I think those type of things, getting people excited about that, doing that and injecting that into the workforce sets a new tone. I know in the sales world, when I sold wine and liquor, we had sales incentives, I think probably every 2 months. And some of them were, whoever sells the most of this goes to Vegas for a weekend, all expenses paid, and has $100 in cash to spend when he gets there. Things like that were, all over. And, somebody says, "So how many times you've been to Napa?" And I said, "Well, about 16, because I went at least once a year." So in the years that I didn't, I was in the business for 23 years, we went other places. So I really appreciate that kind of rewarding structure and what that does to employees. And I invite people that are listening to this to put questions into the chat. For those here on Clubhouse, I'm going to come around again with the mic here and just ask you, what is something that you could see would be a great incentive for the company that you have worked with, if you're an independent now, or if you're currently an independent and yet you have a couple of vendors. What could a vendor do to excite you to sell more of their product? And let's see what bucket lists we can put together for people that are watching. All right, Wade, I'm going to come back to you. What would you like to see on that bucket list?
I know as a vendor, if I had an opportunity for my vendors that they would offer me something as a gift, what I would really appreciate is travel, especially being a coach to, I'm just going to throw some names out there, to a Zig Ziglar event, or even perhaps a personal development course, anything of that nature that would really help me to further invest in me. I think that's the important part, that it's an investment in that person, something that could be really appreciated. So to me, it's some kind of personal development. And again, that would have to be matched to somebody that's interested in their personal growth. I'm going to yield the mic.
Excellent. No, it's a great one. I like that a lot. Thank you. Kevco, what would you, what's on your bucket list? All right, he must not be there. D, how are you, D?
Any sound?
Can you hear me, D? Whoop.
Yeah, I think maybe
Kevco, there you are, Kevco. What would be on your bucket list, Kevco?
I think you were muted there for a second. I guess the only thing I would add to what I previously said was working, because I work in diversity, equity, and inclusion as a facilitator and a trainer. And so I'm always looking for ways to incorporate a person's diverse, their gender identity, their culture, their racial background, etc., into employee recognition and honoring employees and hopefully motivating them as well. So I always try to pay attention to that. So I guess that would be on my little bucket list, I guess.
What would be a good couple of examples of something that you could think of to just put out there?
Well, one thing we do where I work is we have a internal newsletter that goes out. We also have social media as well. And when I first got there, they would do this kind of introductory thing of like, hey, D, you're a new employee. And then D would talk about, I like to cook, I like to go hiking, that kind of thing, which is fine. But then I also had them add a question about their background, about their ethnicity, or anything they felt comfortable talking about. So I think it added a layer of depth to, again, them being appreciated for their uniqueness. I think anything that you can do to accentuate and emphasize a person's uniqueness, because sometimes people just kind of try to blend in, but at the same time, they appreciate being singled out if it's something that they're comfortable with. So I think using social media externally as well as internally, and then I think that expands the audience. Your customers get a chance to see the person working there as well as their coworkers. Hope that helps.
No, it's awesome. Thank you so much, Kivko. D, what awesome ideas do you have to share with us?
As far as what? I just walked in. So ideas about what?
Creative ways to reward employees, as far as for their recognition, as for their talent, to appreciate them. Some of the things that you would probably, I would say, put on your bucket list for people.
Okay, that's a lot. I like what everyone has shared so far. I love the travel piece. How about a parking spot right up front the building? So a parking spot, maybe monetary rewards or prizes, luncheons, gift cards. Bring in a massage person, 15-minute massages. I have lots and lots of ideas, but those are good so far. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I know Steve Apple yesterday, who runs the Man Cave Podcasting, yesterday said something about the parking spot. I think that's a great gift. It's a fun one because then everybody walks past and sees you there and like, well, why is he or she there? And when they find out it's because they hit a goal and something worked, I think that's wonderful. One of the other things that I think would be appropriate and really an opportunity is, in the interests of looking at, and I don't know all the details for this, so this is just something that if you happen to know the details, or you happen to know or be able to know how to get this done. I know that there are companies that have an ability for you to buy stock options. And so they receive stock options. Now there's two forms of stock, right? There's the ownership of the stock, but there's also stock options of a part of the ownership, so that the ownership of the company always stays powerfully connected to a couple people, but then there's a piece that can be broken up into multiple pieces. And I think doing something like that, especially to a long-term employee, really creates something, because not only now it's their family, but it's also something that allows them to have the experience of, wow, if I really pour in to this community, these are some of the benefits. Like, I can really see this supporting the entire community. And hello, Harlan. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How are you guys?
Phenomenal. Thanks for coming up on stage and sharing the last few minutes with us up here. I'd love to ask you the question: what are some of the ways that you would reward employees or bucket list employees to get them excited about working above and be and this is, by the way, above and beyond that solid paycheck?
Yeah, I own a company and I have employees. I a few years ago really went in all full hog into helping them become who they are. That includes purchasing classes that not only are related to the job, but like partially related, and then helping them use those new skills in their job. I also help every single agent and employee in my company buy investment real estate or a home to become an investor in real estate, because I actually feel like real estate is the only way out for 9% of the population. And the only thing I can do to really pay these people back is to help them become financially independent. So I've done everything from, I buy them books, and then what I do is I'll go through the book, having read it, and highlight the parts that I think are that are interesting, that we can have a conversation about later, and then we get together and we have a conversation about it. And I actually give them paid time to read. Every week they get 2 hours of paid time to do research on both individual and professional development. So that's what I do.
I love that idea, Harlan, about highlighting areas of the books. I send books to all the time to people. That's one of my favorite things to do, to send to clients. And to be able to highlight, I had not even thought about that. I mean, I always write on the inside of the cover and write a note and sign it, even if the book is a signed copy of somebody's book.
Yeah, I think that there's a reason I'm reading it. Like, one of my favorite things out of Rich Dad Poor Dad is, if you don't know a lot about money, surround yourself with people who know more about money than you do.
Amen.
And I highlight these things, and then I feel like part of a leader's job, I think 50% of it is motivation and 50% is appreciation. So if you can do those two things, I mean, I've never had a problem. I was a professional musician and actor for like 14 years, and I was treated very badly the entire time, which is why I ended up getting out of that into real estate, so that I could be my own, about 20 years ago, so I could be my own boss. And when people realize that how much you can do, we even have I bought our company, all 6 employees, we went to a time management seminar. And because I really feel people don't understand how much you can get done in a shorter period of time. And I do stuff like that. I don't really, and I do handwritten notes, thank you notes is the other thing. But that's about it. I don't give them money. I don't give them parking spaces. I don't care about any of that. That's all personal life logistics, in my opinion. I'm really interested in development.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Jeanette. How are you?
Hi, Coach. I'm fantastic.
You came in right on the last minute.
Oh, boy. You know, I'm so glad I didn't miss that minute.
So the quick question is, because I know you'll have something to add of value, so I'll hold on to a couple minutes here. What are some of the crazy or fun ideas of a way to reward employees that you would like Harlan? So Kevkos mentioned being appreciative and do recognition and talent, do diversity, inclusion, appreciate them by their uniqueness, put something together that's unique. So that generated a whole bunch of ideas for me. Then we went to the parking spot idea, which I think is great. A massage person, luncheon, gift cards. Then Harlan mentioned, putting something, having people go to classes. Wade had mentioned going, sending somebody to Zig training, sending them to certification training. I mentioned that the staffing agency that I know sent 22 people to Jamaica for a week as a thank you for their time and their attention to detail, taking 2021 to be the best year the company had ever had. And then Harlan mentioned something else that I thought was great, buying a book, highlighting it and giving it to somebody, which I thought was awesome. And then paid time to read while you're during the course of the week. So there's a few of the ideas that have been shared so far. And, there's just for everybody, there's this book that I read out of 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees. So there's definitely no shortage, but I didn't want to just read out of this book. I was curious to hear what people had to say. So Jeanette, if you would share with us to end this, and we'll be back next Monday and Tuesday, same time, same place, for the Less is More Coaching Podcast videocast with ways to improve the employment situation and how employees are being handled by owners and businesses. So the mic's coming to you, Jeanette.
I love this concept. I worked for a company and they decided not to do the Employee of the Month because what had happened was the same people kept getting the award. You can only go through so many good employees, and then all of a sudden it's the same ones all the time. They wanted to do something where it was more of a reward, and they know that when you reward people, every time you reward them, that's what they remember. That's what impacts them. So what they would do, they called it You Made a Difference. And every time, so everybody got these coins, and every time somebody made a difference to someone, they would give them the coin. And then at the end of the month, they had to report where they gave all their coins to, who they gave them to, and why they made a difference. And that ended up being a great program. They had lots of giveaways based on, like you said, books or they didn't necessarily do trips. They got rewards through different programs or different gifts that they got to select from. I remember there was a list you could select your gift from, that you can use those coins to buy things from. It was called You Make a Difference. And every time they went above and beyond, they got that coin. And then at the end of the year, with that nomination or that form that the person that gave the coins out to, when your name came up, you got a certificate and it went into your personnel file. And it also was included in your performance evaluation in all those categories that you have to fill out: communication, collaboration, all of that went into that. So it was something that not only was just Employee of the Month, but it was actually permanent, and it stayed with them for forever, till as long as they were working there. And the reward system, remember, it's kind of like when you want to work with. They teach that a lot in behavior management, that when you do the reward system, that seems to be more effective than just Employee of the Month. Or even, if you go to discipline someone, we were taught never to discipline them in that way. So we did it a coaching. And it was kind of a way to document that they weren't doing well, and they had to watch their performance. But because we had in the coaching, we saw great improvement in not only behavior, but also the ability to train the employees. And this was all the same company. It all fit into that You Make a Difference, where they actually started, you could see the change in everybody in their, the way they collaborated, the way they communicated, the way they served others. It was a big difference. So that's my take on it. I got to see that the company that I was there with, it lasted for over 10 years. And the only reason why they stopped doing it was that the company sold, and that's when it stopped. So to last that long, it was very effective. But again, the company had a great succession rate. They practice succession, so they add value to the employees. So that was a great program. I wanted to share that. It's one that sticks out the most. It's the one that I saw that was the most effective. Thank you for letting me share this 1 minute, Coach. Love it.
All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody, and I would love to, for those of you that are still here, a couple of questions. One, if this podcast was from 3:30 to 4:30, would that be a better time for those of you that are here? And if you would do me the courtesy of just sending me a back channel and letting me know that, in other words, it would still be going on for another 22 minutes and it would have started a half hour later. I would love to know that, because maybe it's a better time, especially for people on the East Coast, because they're leaving work. Secondly, it's around lunchtime. It's still a late lunch for people on the West Coast. But I'd love to find out what people think of that. I know that it's, for me, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's 3 to 4 or 3:30 to 4:30. I'd just love to support people in being here. So if you could let me know that. Yes, Harlan.
And I'd like to remind all the leaders out there, if you're like the top of the food chain, that you got to reward yourself. So I just wanted to mention that.
Amen. Thank you, Harlan. And I appreciate you being here. And for those of you that are on stage, I've followed everybody on stage. Harlan, I look forward to having you back. For those of you in the listening lounge, Mirabelle, Dr. Holland, Jeff, Kavendra, it's great to see you all. I thank you so much for being here and looking forward to next week. So with that, I am going to close this room the fun way that I always do. This room will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for those of you on the podcast, I just want to say thank you, and here we go.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guide.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.